I'll go.
Amen.
One more time, y'all. I'll go.
Amen.
All right, family. I'm kindly asking at this point, if you guys can please move as comfortably close to the front of the room as possible. I know some of us want to play it cool. I'm not going to force your hand. I'm just kindly suggesting, that's all. I'm speaking as a teacher. But once again, I want to welcome you guys to Sankofa Video Books and Cafe, and most especially, welcome to the All Eyes on DC Show. For those of y'all who don't know me, let's do an inventory of the room. Whose first time is it being here in this space during the All Eyes on DC Show? Let me get a show of hands, please. All right, perfect. Welcome to the All Eyes on DC Show. If you haven't already, please sign the sign-in sheet that's circulated throughout the room. That is my means of keeping in contact with y'all. Remember, we mobilize tonight, but we organize over the emails, and we organize through the dissemination of information for future events and things of that nature. So tonight, for those of y'all who just got here, the All Eyes on DC Show is my effort as a grassroots journalist, pretty much to propagandize the Black African struggle in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C., as I see it, is not how I see it, but it's how it is. Washington, D.C. is the center of Babylon, okay? Babylon being a world, right, where we were brought into, where we lost our language, our way of life, we lost our African memory, and where we were forced to try to find that memory throughout all of the struggles. A lot of us are still continuing to find our African mind. We're still struggling to create an infrastructure, political, family, and otherwise, where we can thrive as African people. That has been our struggle since before Jamestown, and especially since 1492, when Columbus went down to what is currently Haiti and the Dominican Republic. This is a global war that we are fighting, and the war has manifested here in Washington, D.C., especially since 2007, when they opened up National Stadium over there by where Capers used to be. You guys know what Capers is? Arthur Capers, housing development, okay? You're talking about 501, okay? Those are people there, right? People, working class, Black African people who lost their homes. They were raised also that the Nats can play and have the MLB All-Star game. So in the same breath, Bryce Harper is over here knocking home runs out the park. He's running around the diamond. People are cheering on. They got a national stadium park, if you haven't been inside, where white people can bring their dogs, eat hot dogs and chili burgers and all that good stuff, while on the other side of the city, little 10-year-old girls are getting shot dead while they're going out for ice cream. Do you not see the juxtaposition? If you don't, I can lay it out for you right now. Let me get in Ashe, family.
Ashe.
Okay? And I have to call Ashe for those events, because it's during these times that we have to emulate our ancestors, and we have to really organize and understand that this is a long haul game. It's not about hashtags. It's not about videos. It's not about stepping out there getting in cops' faces. It's not about marching. It's not about protesting. It's not about typing dissertations. This is a long-form game that requires our undivided attention and our dedication to the issues and our knowledge of the issues that affect us very greatly, which is why I called this meeting to order tonight. The All Eyes on DC Show since 2015, when we had radio, dedicated itself to pretty much outlining every aspect of the Black African struggle by bringing people in here in front of us who can talk about that pretty much and contextualize our struggle with what they do in the industry. Tonight, we got Dr. John Cheeks coming through here. Dr. John Cheeks has been organizing around reparations for some time now. And he's going to speak to us about that issue and what he's doing. After that, after my presentation, of course, he'll come up. But I'll also give the floor to other politically minded people in here who can pretty much talk about what it is that they do. And when I say politically minded, I'm talking about anybody, because life is politics, as I will show you in this presentation. So once again, I'm very happy that you guys are here. I'm very happy, that you guys are just, in the mode to learn and to organize, okay? So, tonight's presentation is called, It's About More Than Just Voting. All right, wait for it to come back up. It's about more than just voting, all right? What we're talking about here are the keys to the organizing as Black African people. As I said last month, the new term not that it's so-called new, but the term that I've decided to call our people, because you have a segment of our population that wants to walk away from blackness. They want to walk away from being African. They try to tell you that the slave ships, all of them didn't come here. They often tell you, well, you know, if we all came from West Africa, then where are the ships? You know, white people, they like keeping ships. And you know, I'm not going to discount what they say, because we are indigenous to every place on this earth. But Africa is our home. There's no denying that. I am never, ever going to deny my connection to Mama Africa. And no matter if you got on the boat through the Mahaffin, through the African Holocaust hundreds of years ago, or your family came here by boat or plane a few decades ago, then you should never deny Mama Africa, okay? So, black African, family, black African, black meaning that consciousness of your place in the world, from the time that you were born, your heightened sense of blackness in the world that values everything white, and pretty much it's a statement of knowing that you know where you belong, and it's your dedication to rising up out of that unconsciousness that they got us in right now that has us in dysfunction. That's the black part. Like I said, African. African is pretty much our acknowledgement of the African blood that we all share, and it's a show of our solidarity with Mama Africa and the other people of African descent all across the world. So when we're nation building, we're talking about nation building here. Nation building starts at the very hyper-local level, which means your block. It goes locally, which means your city, right? And then it goes nationally, which means across the United States. And then we're talking internationally. So then, now you have hyper-local nation builders all across, consolidating their power and conferring with one another, understanding what's going on and what issues they have going on. That's how we must organize. It's something similar to what they call a federation. And it all starts with that black African consciousness. Can I get an ashe? Ashe. Can I get another ashe, y'all? Ashe. We're talking about a black African consciousness that just does not stop at knowing that you're African, not knowing, knowing what being a Commission is, knowing metaphysics, because my qualm, and I had to pray to the Creator this morning, and actually for a whole week leading up to this, that I wouldn't make this presentation with an angry tone, right, toward my conscious brothers and sisters who pretty much, downplay politics. They tell us, well, that's their system. Let's move away from that. If we just think about our situation better, then we can rise above it. Their system we were here long before this system. I don't need to vote. To me, that's very asinine. You as a black African, I'm telling y'all right now, you as a black African cannot be a universalist and deny the potency of politics. This presentation will show you how you have to use your African consciousness to organize and to use politics to engage those who control aspects of your life so that you can create a better society for you and your family. We're talking about cutting out the fear of the Babylonians, because that's all I hear sometimes when I'm talking to my people and they say they don't want to vote. I'm hearing fear. I'm hearing fear due to a lack of knowledge around the specificities of how government works. I'm hearing a fear of power, or what looks like power. I'm hearing a fear of white people and of people who seem more educated than us, that has been ingrained in us from the very beginning. But as the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey told us, when it comes to institution building, all the institutions that you see before us, we made. So you're not copying anything. We had politics before they had politics. We had healthcare before they had healthcare. We had everything before they had it. So it's a matter of us taking this institution and making it so that it fits our interests. Can I get an ashe? Ashe. Thank you. Next slide, please. Now, I'm a little long-winded. Forgive me. Don't forgive me. Doesn't matter. But I want you guys to please take notes, and I want you guys to bring the questions. All right? Bring the questions. Really think hard about this. If you're a hardline person that doesn't like voting, I want y'all to challenge me. Real life. Challenge me. What's up? Because I'm ready for this. Because it's time for it to stop. Today's objectives, all right? We have 2 objectives for this presentation. I framed the conversation around voting. As you guys already know, DC experienced low double-digit voting numbers across the board in wards 7 and 8. You're talking single-digit voter turnout numbers in the DC primary. The DC primary, for those of y'all who don't know, they're closed primaries, which means that you can vote only if you have party affiliation within that party. Which political party runs DC currently? Somebody raise your hand and tell me, please. Go ahead, Rashid.
Democratic Party.
The Democratic Party, the Dixiecratic Party of 2018 runs the DC political circle, and I'm not afraid to say that, okay? They run it, so a lot of us who call ourselves independents, we couldn't vote in the closed primary. But believe me, I'm going to show you guys a means for us to do what we got to do outside of the two-party system. So that's the first thing. How we can use the vote to concentrate black African political power in DC. The second thing we got here, family, right? The importance of black African politics as a whole. We got to redefine politics and get up off the bench and get into the game. But what part does black African politics play in us pretty much regaining our collective power? Because that's what they prey on. They prey on our division. All right? Next slide, please. Black African politics. First, you got to define what you're talking about before we go here. This is a definition that I coined using a combination of what's out there and framing it in the context of our struggle. So, you're talking about group activities associated with the self-determination of black African people. In their neighborhoods and their cities, black African people, that's y'all, and that's us. We debate, and not only do we debate, we organize for power. Okay, so any activity, and notice I didn't say activity. I didn't just say activity. I said group activity. You're talking about coming together as a people, right? And not only debating, but organizing for power. So first, it's about showing the Babylonians that you're here, and that you're smart, and that you're hip to their games. And next is organizing around that and waking up other people and pushing those votes and that organizing power somewhere where it creates long-term change. This has been the game for a while. All of the trappings that Washingtonians have enjoyed, in particular Washingtonians that don't like voting, DC summer jobs, you know, what else we got? The thriving black businesses that people had, you know, the money that they had that they took to go out to PG County. These are the same black Africans that tell you not to vote. But they forget that politicians like Marion Barry set up the game for us. They use politics to shape our circumstances through which we could thrive. And then of the Babylonian politicians, they were in the shadows with the corporations in their ears, taking stuff away from us piece by piece by piece while we sat on our butts and did nothing. Can I get an ashe? Okay? That's the name of the game, organizing. And it's not, politics isn't just for the Babylonians. We're all politicians, family. Next slide, please. Hold on, let's go back real quick. I want you guys to see something. Forgive me. All right? Shout out to the late, great Dr. Francis Press Welsing. Shout out to Neely Fuller. I want you guys to, listen, I want you guys to notice right here. You got the 9 areas of people activity here. Politics, along with the economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, religion, sex, war, and counter-war, family. This is why I lined it up right here, okay? Everything that you're trying to do, you got people like, you know, Boyce Watkins, forgive me for mentioning him. I'm not beefing with the brother, but the brother's going to try to tell you don't vote. He'll try to tell you, you know, don't do this and that. Business, business, business. But you're forgetting that politicians work with corporations every day to control the means of production that make it harder for you to be a business person. So how can you call yourself a business person if you're not going to engage politicians and make sure that your conditions are better for you to conduct business? This is what we're talking about. You being inside your industry and learning about the laws so that you can become a better politician and get these Babylonians before they change the laws on you. Can I get an ashe? Okay? This is what politics does, family. Politics controls the means for us to be better business people, better educators, better entertainers, and all of the above, y'all. Next slide, please.
All right, the goal is to unify and establish a strong political presence in the sea of racial, cultural, and economic interest in D.C. All right, now, earlier, family, I talked about the Democratic Party, okay? A little about the Democratic Party. In 1963, all right, matter of fact, was it 63, 64, hold on, when MLK went down to Birmingham and he was arrested big times during that summer, man, that hot summer. 63, 62, early 60s, okay? Whenever he was in Birmingham, John F. Kennedy visited, all right? This is what was told. John F. Kennedy wrote a letter, or he visited King, right? And it was from that time, allegedly, that African Americans, so-called African Americans, black people, black Africans who were organizing in the United States, from that moment on, you saw a sea change in party affiliation, because they saw that John F. Kennedy, then, you know, to an extent, then Lyndon B. Johnson, even though you had to kick him in the butt, right? They were changing their party affiliation. This is how black people became Democrats, right? But now, look at the Democratic Party today. There are so many interests within that party, right, that you really have to make your voice really known in there. You understand? So not only are Democrats have to accommodate to black people, they got to accommodate to the LGBT interest. They got to accommodate to the immigrant interest. They got to accommodate to the so-called progressive wing. And black people, right, black liberals, I'm not going to speak in generalizations here, but black liberals within the Democratic Party establishment oftentimes have to make a choice within their party. Well, do I go full on as a black Democrat and voice my opinions for my people, you know, or should I just fall back and politicize, you know, help out the other interests first in the hopes that they'll get my back later? That doesn't often happen. And if you read history, you will see that the National Democratic Party has often stepped in the way of black self-determination. When black people within the Democratic Party have tried to organize solely for black interests, the Democratic elites have organized against that. So how can you call yourself self-determined and a Democrat when the Democrats don't even want you exercising your full self-determination? Keith Ellison. Who knows Keith Ellison? Y'all raise your hand, y'all. Keith Ellison, y'all. Keith Ellison, if you watched CNN 2 weeks ago, Jake Tapper got in that ass, okay? And I enjoyed it. You know why? You want to know why? Because Keith Ellison, on his way to rising into the Democratic Party, he denounced Farrakhan. With Farrakhan, the same Farrakhan that put him on the Nation of Islam, who he was on a mission for. You understand that? These are what the Democratic Party establishment wants you to do. They want you to denounce your own people in order for you to get to the top. Then even when you get to the top, they want to let you hold leadership. What happened to Keith Ellison when they wanted that new chair? Who took the chairmanship instead? Who remembers? Say it again. Exactly. Perez, a whole Clinton night. Come on now. The Clinton administration, Center for American Progress, all of those so-called progressive organizations right now are going through a schizophrenic phase when they don't know if they want to be grassroots or they want to be corporate. And the corporate interests are overtaking all the grassroots efforts, okay? Which is why you even got some of, you know, your so-called socialist progressive buddies in there. They're trying to click up with us. But as you already know, socialism never ever takes into account what part race plays in our destruction. Can I get an ashe? So self-determination is very important, y'all. And we got to organize politically for that. I ain't no Democrat. I ain't no Republican. I'm a black nationalist and a Pan-Africanist. And you shouldn't be afraid to say that. If anybody is making you afraid to say that you're a black nationalist only because the Southern Poverty Review, whoever it is, no, not even them, the ACLU and all them are telling y'all that black nationalists are racist and that, you need to cut them ASAP. You need to cut them, because it ain't racism. We don't have power just yet. All we can do is call you cracker. That's it. That's all we can do, call you cracker. And sometimes that ain't even fun. It's frustrating. Next slide, please. All right, circular thinking. So this is the status quo. I'm going to be a teacher real quick. Who knows what status quo means? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Status quo is the existence paradigm.
The existing paradigm, where we are right now, thank you very much. This is the status quo right here, all right? After major racial catastrophes, the black African masses vigorously debate and march for a short period of time on a single issue before turning its attention elsewhere and rarely affecting political change. This happens time and time again, going back to Francis Cress Welsing, our noble ancestor who pretty much designed, let me get y'all hip to this. She died because the Zionists were building their school next to her house and they kept interrupting her while she was trying to rest. I'm getting y'all hip now. Political organization. The Zionists killed Francis Cress Welsing, y'all. Y'all heard it here first, second, third. Matter of fact, we broke that story on AllEyesOnDC.com 2 years ago. The Zionists did that. The Zionists who got money, who pretty much put their money into the democratic establishment, which is why when you have council members, even as innocently as it may seem, talking about weather control and stuff like that, you got their own democratic colleagues calling for their head. But they don't want to acknowledge what's going on over there in Palestine, though. They don't want to talk about that. Or they don't want to talk about how the Zionists control media and all that stuff. But that's another time. Well, not even, because we might talk about that some more today. But circular thinking is what Francis Cress Welsing talked about. Circular thinking being that because we are often in a state of frenzy as black people, we often don't have time to slow down and think. So life is always going to hit us, right? And when life hits us, we're putting out this fire. Then we're putting out this fire. Then we're putting out this fire. And we're always in a state of despair. Now, mind you, the Babylon system is very well organized. It's been that way for a very long time. They've been doing that thing. That's their formula. Confuse, infiltrate, defeat, right? So that can no longer be the case. We know what the deal is. The key to destroying that is organizing around our issues and stop paying attention to social media and the mainstream media cycles, because the mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and even some of these websites that are getting propped up. For example, The Root. Hey, y'all, hey, listen, The Root, cut them off ASAP, man. The blackmail misandry, that's got to stop, man. I'm going to tell you that right now. Cut The Root off, man. The Root, very smart brothers, all them jokers, they're controlling the narrative, and black African people who are not politically astute, they follow them into hell every single time. So instead of looking in your neighborhood and using your critical thinking skills to understand what's happening, you, as a black African, are letting them tell you what's important. Oh, gun control is important. We need to make sure that these kids don't shoot up schools. The whole time, black kids don't ever shoot up schools. If black kids got beef, they on the block doing that. And the whole time, y'all been put metal detectors in our schools. So how can we shoot up this? If anything, we need to talk about the police dropping illegal guns into our neighborhoods. But they never talk about that framing of the gun issue. They will never do that. It's up to us to talk about that. But first, we need to get into a mode of thinking where we're not in a frenzy, we're slowing down, and we're planning as black African people. Can I get an ashe? All right, next slide, please. All right, the black African vote under siege. Well, Sam, Ross Plo, Brother Sam, PK, how do we as black African people vote? You know, the odds are stacked against us. God damn, what are we going to do? Well, listen, I'm with you. And I'm about to hit y'all right now. It is very well under siege. This is what they do. This is why gentrification is very important to talk about, all right? Gentrification, the process by which the Urugu, right, the white people, okay, the rich black people, right, you know, our classist brothers and sisters who got lost in that educational maze and thought that their degrees were going to get them out of Babylon, right? They're the ones who are conspiring against working class black people, me and you, and they use stereotypes about us to destroy our neighborhoods. So gentrification is a process where majority black neighborhoods get broken down. So I'm going to speak from my example, all right? I was born and raised around Kennedy Street, not too far from here, about a mile up the street. In 07, I took the 63 bus from my house all the way to Banneker. Dr. John Cheekshaw, let's give him a hand, family. That's our guest tonight. He's going to talk about reparations. I'm setting it up for you, sir. I'm setting it up for you. All right. Hey family, if you have not signed the sign-in sheet yet, please sign that for me. Please, I beg y'all. In my Gribbo voice, my Liberian voice. I beg you all. Now, in 2007, the thing about gentrification is, right, and this is how they do it. They see culture, they bring in one of them, okay? It might be a member of the LGBT community, one of their oppressed people, okay? It might be a poor white person that's on a lower economic scale, but still has some support, right? They're gonna go into your neighborhoods when the rent is still low, still manageable, because they like the culture, right? They're gonna set up shop. And you know, we're loving people. So we see a white, you know how it is back in the day. You be like, oh yeah, that white person, man, yeah, they cool. And you know, but they know go, this, and that. You know how we be, but it's to our detriment, right? So one of them come in, then two of them, then three of them. Then now they got whole families. They buying up whole houses. You got little white babies. You got dogs running around the park. Then eventually, what else you got? You got goddamn ANC commissioners now. White ANC commissioners, they in these meetings talking about, well, you know, I don't like John, you know, and Will and all them out there on Georgia and Kennedy all the time. They be posted up in the morning talking and scaring our people coming up off the bus. Let's move that bus up off the street. Or, you know, the businesses around Fifth and Kennedy, you know what I'm saying, they don't like those boys out there all the time. Let's not go find them jobs. Let's just go get the police to press them out. They talk about this stuff in ANC meetings. This is how they do it. They sneak in there over a few years at a time. Because first, I never want to hear a black African ever tell me again, hey, not all white people. I got white friends, they cool. It ain't about liking them. It's about power. I don't care if so-and-so was at your baby shower, they gave you a job. I don't care. It's about power. Because when it comes to that ballot box, they will come in there and vote for Trump again. For real, they will. Because if I know white people, I know this. White people, they protect their interests first. And we need to start being like that too. Can I get an ashe? And part of doing that is understanding the value of education. And like I told y'all before, we as black African people need to stop shunning stuff because we think white people did it first because they ain't do nothing first. You hear me? And I ain't scared to say that. Every institution that you see here, all right, from a school building to a health center to a public policy institute, we created it first, but it wasn't given the same name. John Locke and all them, when they had their so-called, whatever it's called, not revitalization, but their Renaissance, no, what's it called? When they had their, whatever it's called, when they had their Enlightenment period, exactly, the Enlightenment. When they had their Enlightenment period, John Locke and them, everything that they talked about as far as equality and all that, they got from Africans. So never in your black African life can you ever say that they invented anything. They took what we had and they remixed it. Which is why we have to consolidate and institutionalize what we got going as African people. And it starts in education. We have to stop the liberal political education. What do I mean by liberal political education? Political education, which is given through a lens that tells our black African children that Republicans are bad, but Democrats are good. How many of y'all went through these school systems at one point and heard that mess? Republicans are bad, Democrats are good. When I worked for a charter school system, me and my girlfriend went to Jamaica for a whole week. We came back on the night of the election, 2016, Trump won. I woke up, I said, okay, it's another day, back to the fight, whatever. I came to the school building, kids like, dang, Mr. Collins, what you think about that? What you think about that? I said, yo, life goes on, y'all, keep the fight going. They said, yo, oh man, I thought you were gonna say something more, because I be rapping. So they thought like, you know, so they thought about it just be up there like just speaking like, yeah man, F Trump man, woo 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 woo, this and that. No. Because liberal political education taught us that after the civil rights movement, everything stopped, everything was all willy-nilly, that it's just on those black kids who don't pull their pants up. That's why we're messed up as a system. But that's not the case. The Republicans and Democrats have always conspired against our people, especially the wealthy ones. So, in order for us to institutionalize, right, as a black African people, we have to change our education system. I encourage y'all to go to homeschools, all right, with your children. The Sankofa Homeschool Collective, all right, the Sankofa Homeschool Collective in Mount Rainier, they're starting up very soon, all right. Baba Obi Agbuna, he has 2 sessions, 2 levels of black Pan-African history that he's teaching the kids. The first level is a level in which he breaks the myth of the cool Democrat. Then from there, he exposes our youth to the Pan-African leaders that have made a difference in our global community. That's what it's going to take. We got to demonize these people, man. We got to demonize them. Cory Booker on radio. Y'all know Cory Booker, right? Who don't know Cory Booker? Cory Booker was the former mayor of Newark, New Jersey. In 2011, 2012, around the time I was working at NBC, that joker brought Mark Zuckerberg into Newark to build all these charter schools up. Now, charter schools are pseudo-independent institutions that corporations make up to house kids and teach them nothing and test them all day while people pocket money. And other than these business owners, construction workers get paid off, property owners get paid off, everybody gets paid off in the charter school system except for our kids. And you're talking DC, the money circulates among the DC government to the corporations because kids are getting, it's 19 G's a head per kid. And because our people, we see uniforms, we like, hey, this school got uniforms. This school has an international program. Oh yeah, I'll put my kid in there. The whole time, they're not doing nothing different for your kids. So in order for us to break this cycle, again, we got to consolidate power, and we also have to reimagine and remix our political education so that it suits our interests. Next slide, please. Okay, establishing a black African political...
I had a question for you.
All right, go ahead. My fault. You good? Can I introduce you? You mind? All right. Brother Jamar right here. 16 years old now. Brother Jamar right here, man. He's the future, y'all. Y'all remember that name, man. Y'all remember that name. Y'all remember that name, man. Right now, I think he's looking at issues relating to environmentalism, you know. And oftentimes when I used to work at a charter school, when we used to build, it was me, him, and some other brothers. I just appreciate his excitement about our situation, you understand, and his willingness to learn. So you look out for him, because not only is he going to be working in his issue area, he's going to have enough political knowledge in order to influence the Babylonian politicians that want to destroy our world and our society, y'all. So please give him a hand, family. All right, brother, you got a question for me?
So,
hold on 1 second. Here you go.
So based on what you were just saying about how school systems, are you in support of the idea of Dr. Umar building his own school for basically like teaching the system that you were saying that our schools need?
Trying to get me in trouble. Cool. I like it. All right, I'll run from trouble. I like the idea. So me, I'm a man of ideas. I'm not a man of personality. Now with Dr. Umar, you know, and I tried interviewing him one time when I was working for a Babylonian institution. He wasn't rocking. Shouts out to him for that, because I respect that position. With him, the idea of building a school, I'm with it. We need to build more schools. With him, and this is often the case with a lot of our leaders, right? We are taking on the habits and the mindset of our oppressors, in the sense that we're not totally fighting just for our liberation. We're also fighting a popularity war, right? So with Dr. Umar, you know, when he had Hidden Colors, right? He came out on the scene. A lot of our generation knew him. We were enamored by him, right? He was getting money, you know, stuff like that for the school, stuff like that, right? But then he got caught up in the whole stripper debacle. He got caught up in the thing with what's the other brother from Detroit? Sarah Seti, exactly, right? So the thing is, like, all of these distractions are taking you away from the mission. Another thing is the whole transparency issue. You understand? People are giving money to you. You can't be talking back to people when they're asking you where the money's going. Do you have a plan for the school, right? Are you being honest about what's it going to take to build a school, right? Are you being honest about the steps, about the fact that you might need to build a small school, then expand over a few years? He wasn't being honest about that. I think that he took our willingness and our desperation, right, to be for ourselves, right? And I'm not saying he did it intentionally, but I'm saying that it was too fast, it was sensationalized, and, you know, his scandals distracted away from what he was doing. And another point that I want to make is that too often, you know, and my girlfriend, she'll tell you this, our black African male leaders, oftentimes, they do things within their private lives that are incongruent with their political public life. You understand? So we have to hold each other accountable. I'm not for the cult of celebrity. You know, we got to be mindful of who we are as people. The same way that we out politicians, we can't be afraid to out those who are doing things that go against the interests of black African people. So to answer your question, I'm all for building schools. I'm all for that. But you got to be transparent. You got to be honest. If the man should have gotten an accountant, he should have gotten somebody who could, you know, itemize the budget. Like, all right, we're going to need this for this. We're going to need this for an HVAC system in the school. We're going to need this and that. They're cool. But it wasn't done like that. And that's and for real, that's the importance of black African organizing. Because you got to be organized. Go ahead.
Just to reference that, the general point I think is that projects like that need to be from the beginning open source, so it's not about one person.
Shake.
And the easiest way to start any kind of educational...
One second. I want you to get to my one.
The easiest way to start any kind of informational project is to put it on the internet. That way people can contribute it from all around the world. You can see everybody who wants to contribute. This is done all the time in open source software, so it's a model that's already been done. And you get the best minds on it. So I was just going to add that because we're stuck in that cultivism issue, because it's like it's my idea, so I get to control it. But you don't know everything, and you may not even be the best person. Somebody will come up with a good idea, but that doesn't mean you're the person to actually engineer the idea, and that happens all the time. So I just wanted to say that because I have been trying to get people at Howard for over 10 years, and all in the so-called, ever since basically, since the late 90s in the Afrocentricity movement, I said, you can put everything online for free. You don't need to ask nobody to peer review your stuff, just put it online. And if anybody knows anything about the Khan Academy, how many people know about Khan Academy? Okay, this one guy started doing videos for his niece, and he got $3 million from Gates now, and everything on his website is free. We could do the same thing with a black academy, but we just don't have the mindset within the community to understand that we don't have to, like you said, it would be good to do brick and mortar buildings once you get the resource capacity to do that in the locality. But right now, if you want to just start doing stuff, do it online.
Come on, give my hand, y'all. Thank you. Common sense, y'all, and it goes to a point that I'm going to make earlier. A political system that was developed in the midst of our liberation in the last century was called communalism. Communalism is the closest form of a political system that most closely mirrors that of our African communities and villages that we had before colonization in Ma'afa. So, to the point that was made earlier, it's not about just one person, it's about us as a collective. Okay? It's about us as a collective. And if you're really going to get out of Babylon, you can't be in a power struggle for ego. You can't be in a power struggle for personality. It's about the common good of all African people. So in the interest of making sure that Dr. John Cheeks gets his time, I'm going to speed up the presentation just a little bit. We got a few more slides, like 2 or 3. But this is what I outlined as our Black African political strategy, all right? And it's very simple. It's very simple. It takes a lot of time, but we do have time because time is infinite, all right? So we have 5 steps here. As Black Africans in Washington, D.C., the first step is to establish residency, okay? The second step is to register to vote. The third step is to form neighborhood groups with a self-determined Black African focus. The fourth step is to outline policy goals and demands of elected officials and other powers that be. This includes people running for office. And the fifth step is to agitate those leaders on those policy issues using that list as a guide. So as you guys can see here already, this is an organization strategy. It's not mobilization. We're not picketing, we're not drawing cool signs, we're not putting our fist up for Instagram. We're organizing amongst ourselves at our own table, away from social media, to come out and to do something that is self-sustaining and effective and really scares the pants off of them. You understand? Can I get an ashe? Okay, next slide.
Missing step.
Say it again.
There's one missing step.
Tell me.
Be in office.
Oh yeah, we got to be in office. And I think that right here with the agitation part, we're going to go into that a little more, how we can do that. Now, as far as president, you know, because of my belief that we are part of a foreign entity within the United States, I don't think that a Black African who has African consciousness will ever make it to president. I don't think that they should. But I do think that Black Africans should run for office as far as ANC commissioners, council members, mayors, and stuff of that sort. Because the way that the political landscape is, you, as Barack Hussein Obama had to do, will have to make a whole lot of concessions and change who you are in order to become president. Because remember, he threw Dr. Reverend Wright under the bus in that long speech that time, man. And I'm telling you, I was a White House press pool reporter back when they had the shape up, man, and the waves and all that. And Obama, yo, this joker would lie through his teeth, man, and I'd just be in there typing like, man, come on, man, go ahead with all that. You know, seriously. So as far as president, I wouldn't even touch that, man. I just think that we need to be federalized. We need to be organized in our cities, towns, and states, and really scare the pants off of these jokers. And hopefully by the time we do that, we have organized a quasi-military system that will go toe-to-toe with these jokers on that level. Because that's the name of the game, y'all. Right now, all y'all want to go, you know, toe-to-toe from the streets. Y'all ain't got your own stuff. We need to be thinking long-term, y'all. It's about political organizing and creating around our needs as a Black African nation. They got a military, why don't we? Next slide, please. All right, establishing residency, okay? So, like I said right here, no elephants, no donkeys. Leave those be, man. Don't listen, this is K2, this is Dipper. You can't touch it, okay? That's what I'm talking about right here, all right? Seriously, this is K2, this is Dipper. Don't touch it. You be a Black independent voter. You hear me? A Black independent voter, when you register to vote, hit that NP. If you want to make a political party, we can discuss that a little later. But first, you have to absolve yourself of the Democratic-Republican dichotomy. I already told y'all earlier about these white people, man. What's the state in question, y'all? Oregon. Y'all know Oregon over there on the West Coast? They said, okay, it's a whole oasis of like liberalism and all that. Do you know how it formed? Do you know why it formed? Because white people were trying to move away from Black people. They wanted their own little land. That's why, come on now. Come on. Ain't none of them, no. Organize for power. All right, now this part right here, this is still in limbo. The voting age isn't quite 16 just yet. I want to hip y'all to something. The Urugu, they got their kids who go to Washington Latin in these private schools all up in the council hearings, agitating for the vote to become 16 years old. All right, if you read my Washington Informer article, okay, and the sister brought this to my attention. The photo that was used in the article was a photo of white kids testifying. And she asked, well, where were the Black kids? The Black kids were there, but the proportion of Black kids versus white kids agitating for their vote was very high. So it was more white kids because they know that these Urugu, they buying our houses, they making these babies because they know the long haul game. They want to get votes for their kids to sway policy in their favor. So we got to educate our people, all right? First you register to vote after you establish residency, all right? After that, to vote, they got a whole website you can vote at, or you can register at votefordc.com. You get there, you print out your form, you mail it in, and they also got a phone app. Come on, y'all. They got a whole phone app, y'all. Pull your phones out, y'all. They got a whole phone app, y'all, for you to register to vote. All you need is your DC ID and proof of residency, whether it's like a utility bill. You know, if you're somebody's tenant, you know, you probably need like a letter from them, something like that. But it's real easy, y'all. All right. And remember, you got to register to vote at least 21 days before an election. So the next election is sometime in November. I think it's the 6th, the 8th, something like that. But you need to register 21 days. That's 3 weeks before that election, y'all. Let's get down there, y'all. We can get Bowser out tomorrow. You hear me? We can definitely get Bowser out. Because they got candidates that are going against her that people don't talk about. But if you guys just learn about them, you tell your friends about them, you throw your hat behind them, right? You can easily push her out because she's thinking like, oh, that Urugu money just going to save her. And you know, and like oftentimes it did, but that's because we think about just money. We don't think about our spiritual collectivity and what that can do for us as black African people. Next slide, please. I'm going to go real quick, y'all. Real quick, y'all. Follow me, y'all. All right. Black African political institutions, y'all. I told y'all before, y'all, we are not new to this, we're true to this, y'all. Stop thinking individually, all right? Stop thinking individually. You organize under a family-oriented, communalistic system, similar to what our ancestors created. So first you got to fix your home. Fix your home. Make sure everybody's good, healthy, make sure they're politically aware, all of that stuff. Then you go out there and you fix it. That's what politics is. It's not just approaching them. It's about making sure that you're good, building within your home, then going outside and making sure that the conditions are right for you to continue building what you are building right now. Can I get an ashe? Ashe. All right, next slide, please. Okay, political institutions. All right, you got to think about this. Who played the Sims game coming up? Who played Sims? I played Sims, where you make your own city, stuff like that. Oh, y'all bush for that. Okay, it's fine. Listen, okay? Listen. You got to build your own institutions. We're a whole nation, all right? Where my EMTs at, man? Where my nurses at? Where my IT hackers at? Where my journalists at? Where my marksmen at? Come on, y'all. We can't just be musicians and dancers, you know, and poets and stuff like. Come on, man. I love the arts too, y'all. I love it too, y'all. For real, I love it. But we gotta diversify, y'all. If y'all got kids, push them in that direction, y'all. We can't keep depending on these Urugu for our salvation. We gotta start building our own institutions. You build your own institution, and then you politicize within that. Which means that if you're a business owner, you learn about issues endemic to your area. So if you're a business owner, you learn about, well, the laws that are coming in place that affect your business. For example, Initiative 77. Who heard of that? How many of y'all own a small business? How many of y'all, if you own a small business, can afford to pay your people $15 an hour on your budget? How many of y'all let your people get tips in that business? I'm speaking hypothetically here, but this is what's happening. They make these laws without thinking about the small people who have smaller budgets, right? Corporatization. The corporations, the faceless Walmarts, Kmarts, whoever else, they're taking over small businesses and they're making it harder for us to be self-determined. This is why the Chinese got the weave industry on lock. If you're going to wear a weave, buy a weave from a black person. But you can't even do that because they got the means to production on lock. We got to break that politically. Next slide, please. It's not just about marching, all right? Now, this is the part right here that's very important, y'all. Okay? Now, I'm telling y'all guys, cut off them drugs, all right? If the Democrats and Republicans are K2 and Dipper, CNN, Fox is Coke. Okay, that's cocaine right there, all right? And, you know, that's that freebase. Or, you know, you crack, seriously. Seriously. Because they're telling you what to think about all the time. Trump, 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 Trump. Trump, 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 Trump. Russia, Russia, Russia. Ain't no Russian ever called me a nigger and took my home. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Ain't no Russian ever did that unless he's a contractor, but ain't no Russian ever did that to me. And you know, if Russia did come in here and like do what they did, that's on the United States government, because they did the same stuff all over the world. That's not on us. That's on them. So first, you compile a list of policy demands. Second, you target and coerce local elected officials. Third, you go to your media organizations. This is why black papers are important. Who reads the black press? Raise your hand if you read the black press faithfully. All the hands better be raised in here, y'all. Y'all playing, man. Y'all still reading the Post? Y'all still reading the Post? I use that for crabs. Trust me, I use that. I use that for crabs. I don't even do that. Now they trying to bust your head to read online now. They talking about a whole like $1 an article. Come on now. No, they push for that. No, use the Post paper. You put it on the table. You get your crabs, your Old Bay sauce, whatever. You do what you got to do like that, y'all. All right. Other than that, nah. You get the Informer. You get the Afro. You get whoever. Baba Cliff's in here as well. He has a media organization. Please raise your hand if you can for us out in Baltimore. Y'all holler at him, y'all, please. All right. Seriously. All right. Hold on. Then next, you guys. This is very important right here, y'all. Consistent presence on issues outlined. So you don't wait until CNN tells you it's important before you start calling these people. No, you call them every day. You show up to their front door. You show up when they shopping. If they out walking U Street, drinking whatever, you be at the bar right next to them, and you tell them, listen, I need you to pay attention to this bill. Because your council members are everywhere, man. Everywhere. Let me get y'all hip to something, man. Brandon Todd one time, he's my council member. We were talking about TOPA. TOPA, long story short, it allows you to buy your home from your landlord if they about to sell it. They scrapped that junk, but we fought for it, man. Brandon Todd, they had the Q&A session. I raised my hand. I raised my hand. He faced that way. I walked over here, raised my hand again. He turned that way, called somebody else. I walked to the front. The ANC white lady was like, yo. I'm like, nah, give me the mic, man. What's up? Then, agitated, man. You gotta agitate. You gotta let them know who you are. Put some respect on your name, man. On the black African name of that. Because y'all black Africans, man. Don't let nobody tell y'all different. I don't ever want to hear that, oh, I ain't from Africa. No. What you mean? You look just like an African. You're an African. It's fine. It's cool. Ain't nothing wrong with that. What they told you, Africans stink? No. No. Y'all, come on, man. Listen, this is the propaganda here. And before I move on, y'all, this is the war that they play, okay? Kwame Nkrumah came to this country. He went to Lincoln. He got radicalized. Garvey came to this country. He built a whole movement, okay? You had a whole lot of African continentals who came to this country. They got radicalized. They knew what the deal was. After they passed the civil rights legislation in '65, they passed the Immigrant Act, or something to that like in '65 as well, that opened up the doors for black immigrants. Then what did they do after that? They indoctrinated them with the television, with the lies, like, hey man, you're a better black person than they are. Move, this, that, and the third. So now you got the schism between our people on both sides of the Atlantic. We got to end all that. So yeah, you're a black African, y'all. Next slide, please. All right, perfect. So this is the last slide, y'all, and I want to thank y'all. Give yourselves a hand, y'all, please. I hope I didn't do too bad, y'all, because I told y'all, man, I had to pray on this, because back in February, my brother will tell y'all, man, I had to present something in front of like some Urugu in Pittsburgh, man, and like spiritually, now now Dr. Marimba Ani, if you know her, she knows that she doesn't do presentations in front of Urugu, because spiritually they just don't click up. I should have listened to her, because I was in the room with them. We talking about white supremacy, and they telling me, well, I teach black kids, and I got racist friends, and we talk, and like the whole time I'm trying to stop myself, my spirit, from just kirking on them in the presentation, but nah, it didn't go that way. I was kirking on them the whole time. It was real funny. So I had to pray. I had to pray this whole week that I wouldn't be, you know, too enthusiastic about this thing right here, because there's a level of ignorance, and it's not our fault among our people where we think that it's just about voting. And then even when stuff goes wrong, we say, well, nah, F that stuff, I ain't gonna vote no more, you know, this, that. But listen, it's your vote. Your ancestors fought for it, man. And like, they didn't say, you know, at the time when they fought for it, they didn't know what to do with it exactly, but that's up to us to learn. You know, let's get up off our butts and learn how to use the vote for our use. Everything that we have here, the freedoms, not saying that we're totally free, but relative to our counterparts across the world, we have a whole lot of resources to take down this bad boy, man. We are the engine of white. We are the engine of Babylon. We need to start using the tools to break Babylon down from the inside so that it falls. They're waiting on us to do that. Well, yeah, they're scared, and they're doing everything within their power to make sure that we're discouraged, that we're dumb, that we're in a circular thinking mode, so that we don't break down Babylon. We have to do that. Kwame Nkrumah said that Pan-Africanism is the global expression of black nationalism. Black nation building is where it's at. You get your black African consciousness on, you have a black African pedagogy in everything that you do, and you organize politically as a black African community on every level to make sure that your politicians do right by you. Whether they're black, white, Chinese, blue, purple, pink, green, whatever the case is, y'all. Because Babylonians aren't just white. They aren't just white. You got Babylonians who fought for independence in their countries, and they're still in office today, and they're feeding off the people while the people are left hungry. We got to get them out too, which is why fighting in the grassroots and awakening the people is the only way to do so. We got to get power back to the people, y'all. That's all I got to say to y'all, y'all. Peace and blessings. I will take 3 questions, 3 short questions, 3 short responses, and then we'll bring on Dr. Cheeks. All right? 3 short questions, family, please.
You want the questions recorded?
Huh?
You want the questions recorded?
One more time?
You want the questions recorded?
Yes, sir. We're recording the whole thing here. Any questions? It's pretty exhaustive, huh? Oh, yeah, man. My man. Go ahead, sir.
So when I was in school, I ran across this brother named Keelis Mbembe, and he spoke on politics, and the information of it is necropolitics. And I wanted to know at what point, despite the circular thinking, at what point do we begin to address that necropolitics from a more grassroots standpoint, away from the concepts of simply police brutality? Because again, like you said, that 10-year-old girl, she got killed. You see, and I'm in the field of education and everything, and I gotta see little kids coming in that might not come back in. You see, like, at what point do we address that?
You say necropolitics in the sense that we got people in our community just adding to the genocide? Or?
Not even just that, but just it's systemic. So we learn and we institutionalized by the same system that we don't know politics about.
Got you. So I'll say it like this: you always got to focus on the children. Frederick Douglass said it best. It's much easier to teach young children than to heal broken men and stuff like that. You got to focus on the children. As far as the adults, you just got some people who aren't all the way there yet. You know, you can educate, but I'm going to say you don't want to put too much effort into educating people who aren't there yet. You got to find people who are there, who have influence, and then you build incrementally. So if you got 2 or 3 people who are there who have influence, you bring them in, they bring in 2 or 3 people, and eventually it'll be a groundswell. Time is very infinite, and the harder you work, you'll look months on end, you have a movement right there. I'm also of the belief that there are just some people in our community who are of no good to us. You have rapists, you have criminals, you have pedophiles, you have goddamn robbers, you have all of them. I am of the mindset, and I will say this on camera, that we got to get rid of them. Even if it's by, the most vicious means, because we keep saving those people, and we are traumatizing the youngest of our community by pretty much legitimizing what they're due by keeping them on instead of being the light that'll disinfect their Babylonian nature, because they've taken on the Babylonian system and they are the viruses in our communities. So the young brothers that killed Micaiah Wilson, they got to get theirs tomorrow. And ain't no way. How you a gangster? You hopping out of whips indiscriminately, just hacking off at people, but you can't hack off on police. Come on, man. You have officers out here anally raping people during searches, Mo. You can't kill them, but you want to kill little girls, and then nowadays these brothers out here and these sisters too. Everybody tatting their faces up. They sipping the lean. They taking on the rock star persona, right? But they don't even know how to shoot. They don't know how to handle beef. They don't know how to avoid beef, because there's dismay in our community because we've excused the same behaviors that have gotten us in this place. I'm gonna hip you to something. You have people in the nonprofit management sector who take money from grants and use it amongst themselves instead of helping the people who need it the most. We need to get rid of them niggas too. Seriously. Seriously. That's what politics is. Manning up, womaning up, and just eradicating the people within our community who are doing us dirty. Because we can't take everybody on that Black Star line. And I ain't having it. No. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Two more, hopefully one more. I want to give Dr. Cheeks a lot of adequate time. Go ahead, Baba.
Do you see the prospect of establishing some kind of a comprehensive Pan-African organizing system whereby those of us who advocate, say the whole, not just waiting every 4 years and going to vote, but actually the informed voter, putting pressure on political leaders, learning about the candidates, learning about the kinds of laws they're pushing, getting those people and finding a way that they can work effectively with our revolutionary Pan-Africans, with our cultural artists, with our businesses, with our spiritual people, with our Pan-African media, so that we can get around or past this concept that I see far too often of people saying economics is the only way, voting is the only way, culture is the only way, and not realizing that the only way is for all of them to interact at the same time. Do you see a way that we can get to that point, especially here in DC?
I think that's very possible, and I think that this presentation, it sort of spoke to that. I want to take that point further by saying that, you know, we need to get them politically involved and help redefine politics. Politics isn't just about voting. It's not about looking. People need to realize their power. You know, our metaphysicists in our communities are getting too metaphysical. I'm not saying that there's a such thing as getting too metaphysical, but y'all need to listen. Hey, you take a crystal, you pray to the ancestors, you go to that ballot box and you go agitate, all right? You can't just leave it to them. That's not what they did when they were here. They fought too. And I think we need to make that case very clear when we're talking to them. It's very possible. But people just don't understand that hard work is what it takes, you know? And I think that's what we need to, you know, bring across to the table. Another thing is, to that point, Baba, people need to understand that politics affects their daily life. The whole Noise Amendment Act that people were fussing over last week, that brought a whole lot of artists into the political fold. People started getting real political all of a sudden. So if people understand the connection between politics and their jobs and their life, then I think we'll see more of that building of a whole Pan-African movement, federation type thing. One last question, family, please. All right, got a sister, please.
So on one of your slides, you mentioned, and you talked about that we should work across sectors, not just stay siloed in the arts, which is probably an area of comfort. But I just wonder, when I'm in healthcare, when we're in those sectors where we don't see ourselves reflected, and we're trying to certainly be that change, but it's isolating. We don't have support. We don't have, you know, you're marginalized because you are that squeaky wheel. So I just wonder your point on how, in those sectors where we are not present, how can we, you know, stay affirmed and actually do the good work when we don't have any support? And if you get burnt out and you grow compassion fatigue. So I just wonder your point.
Very good question. And me myself, I find that happening, especially in journalism. Not enough black males in the industry. Writing and expression is a very, what side of the brain is that? The feminine side, the right? No, I forget. But it's a very it's a very, you know, not critical thinking, but very creative feminine thing. So you don't really see black men in the industry too much. What I do and what I encourage people in those industries to do is to find somebody to mentor, because oftentimes you might be the only one, but there's a whole crop of people behind you who need mentorship and who need affirmation. And oftentimes it's a two-way street. When you mentor them, they look at you and like they're Google-eyed and like they just want to sit at your feet. And at the same time, you're affirmed that what you're doing is right. You know, and I think that's missing in our community too. Just that building between generations, just to let them know that, hey, like it's a cycle. I've been there before. This is what you can do. All right, family. I want you guys to well, we're going to step up the space first for this interview, but matter of fact, give us a 2-minute break. We're going to set up the space for the interview. We're going to bring up Dr. John Cheeks. He's going to speak about reparations. And hopefully, at some point, we could also get some commentary from people working on their stuff as well. I know we had some folks out here who wanted to talk. You want to say something? Good? No? Okay, no problem. Okay, cool. So give us 2 minutes. We're going to step up the space for the interview, all right? Feel free to go back there, get something to eat, get something to drink. Brother Tenside hooks it up all the time, y'all. Y'all need to start circulating these dollars, y'all, please, or if you haven't done so already. In 2 minutes, y'all. Peace. Don't talk to me.
Let me ask you.
I think your eyes was like 5.
I told him.
I don't know.
All right, family, everybody get started in 1 minute. If you haven't signed in yet, please sign in, y'all. Those of y'all who just came in, I want to put you on the listserv, y'all. If you haven't signed in yet, we got the sheet right here for y'all. Sheet in the pen. That was kind of yeah. You got yours on. Hold on. Because you had the same name when you was Tristan?
Oh, no.
Lauren. All right, bet. Okay. Now, I actually saw Chris on the bench.
For real?
Yeah, no problem. That was you?
That was me.
All right, bet. Okay.
I only do work so anytime I see people call my house on information on a different level, from a different perspective, I try to see what it is. I also teach political science and science. It's too, and it's too autonomous. Like what you were saying about law, I don't know if you have any videos to see us or anything like that, but I'm really struggling to find information to get to my students, to get to my students, about non-European, non-Western ways of thought.
Okay.
Because it wasn't taught to me. I know it's so cool. And so you're teaching them law. I'm like, they didn't come up with this, but I can't like any sort of materials. Sorry, as of right now, that show them they got
Alright. Got you. I'm out of stuff.
if you, I mean, I can give you a project, but maybe doctors.
Yeah.
I really want to give them that information. I don't give them that stuff. I know it's okay, but this is my email address, and you got my Instagram too, so what you
I definitely that. So, hopefully, like we can build on it. And, I don't know if you got like youth that you want me to talk to or something.
if you have to so yeah, you can always organize something. Whatever.
All right, it's about.
But see, it's two different groups. So I got my college students and my hospital students. It's always.
That's what's up. UDC, that's a big like political like. A lot of brothers who came out of UDC, they were doing their thing as far as organizing. So.
Yeah. Still feel UDC when I'm even I work in school.
Every third Friday, I put it on Facebook Live.
So you keep.
Yeah, I posted to the website. Yeah, we did on YouTube as well. We had radio, but it didn't work out. So we just did content. That's when another brother, he had his radio program. I went first time talking this stuff. Then he had his parties. They was just saying talking stuff. Yeah.
But this is good. This is really good.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we're gonna wrap some more
Thank you.
good.
Okay, I will.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I go. All right, family. Let's bring it back, fam. Let's bring it back. All right, guys. So here's the moment. This is a portion of the program that I'm really excited about. You know, given the fact that reparations is an ongoing fight. It's a fight that has often been mischaracterized, and you have people who shy away from reparations. They're saying, well, you know, listen, I've heard this. Again, the metaphysicists, they want to tell you, well, that's that dirty money. It's not spiritual. You know, I don't want to take it. You know, I'm like, all right now, but listen, black people made that money. You know, so we're gonna talk about that fight. I want y'all to welcome Dr. John Sheeks, y'all. Thank y'all.
Testing. Can you hear me? Thank you for the reception.
Thank you for taking the time out to join us, Dr. John Cheeks. I'm not going to go much further. I've been talking a lot tonight, but if you could just tell the audience a bit about your movement, your work in that realm of reparations, and just how you've been organizing around that issue.
Well, for some of you, if I can explain it, reparations has already started. To many of us, we're shocked. The new name for reparations, it's called recovery. That's because of the legal definition of the meaning of reparations. Reparations has started in this country with the removal of Confederate statues, flags, and fixtures. As you know, after a war, when the enemy is defeated, what happens? They remove everything. And to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm the executive director and founder of the United States Citizens Recovery Initiative Alliance, otherwise known as USCRIA. I know it's a long word, title. I was recruited to run this organization for my people. I'm going to be truthful because I can feel positive energy in here, and I might as well. I was recruited by a group of white, conscious Americans who knew that it was time for us to get our, as one told me, just due. Reparations can be defined as a taxpayer's responsibility. That's why it never took off the runway. The airplane just sat there, loaded with everybody on it, everything in it, but couldn't take off because no one wanted to fuel a plane. The Recovery Act is a new airplane, larger, can carry more, further, and faster. The taxpayer does not pay for the fuel or the freight. Do you understand what I'm saying? Reparations would have charged all of us and others tax-paying dollars that we probably would not have wanted to have paid out of our pockets. First, our ancestors take injuries that rolls back 400 years. Now we're taking money out of our pocket to pay for something that we really shouldn't have to pay for. So that's when we came up with what's called recovery benefits. It goes into relief of financial worthiness, housing. It goes into mental injuries. I'm not going to call it mental health. I'm going to call it injury counseling. It goes into education support. For some of you who have attended our higher learning academic institutions here and have paid, you'll be refunded your money back. It goes into healthy families. For some of you men who have been targeted by what's called child support. You've made payments to a system for creating a child. The system told our women that you were held responsible for that. But the system never told us that at one time it was against the law for you to be a father. And for women, it was against the law for you to be a mother. There will be bonds used toward paying child support, something that separates the black family. So it's just an ugly issue legally that separates our families. Children grow up angry at their fathers and maybe sometimes mothers. The Recovery Act goes into that. It eliminates laws that were on the books or in place to further injure the Black American population. If some of you know what I'm saying, please raise your hand. Please, it's okay. Maybe your father didn't come home, or maybe your mother didn't want him to come home. I'm a victim of that. I'm divorced. My ex-wife used the system to come after me. Okay? I handled it the best way that I could. And that breaks up the black family. It is so imperative that we remain together. The Reparations Act would have further pushed us apart from each other. With the Recovery Act, it goes into money. Some of you say, hey, I'd like to have cash. Well, fine. At 55 years old, you'll be eligible to receive cash benefits. You're worth $650,000 at 55 years old. At 60, you're worth $750. At 80, you're worth $850, and so on and so on. Just to give you a little insight to this, I don't want to talk all night about it because we have other issues to talk about voting, of how voting is so important. Can I explain that? This year, people in Washington, D.C., I'm going to leave the Recovery and Reparations Act on the side, and we're going to come back to it. I am running for office as your congressman here in the District of Columbia. I'm running openly under the Reparations Recovery Act. Openly. I expect all of the children of descendants of slaves to vote for me. I expect it because I'm going to bring you money, housing, financial stability, everything that we're lacking. Under this law, you'll be able to have a housing voucher and go and pick a condo or house anywhere in the city. Your credit is automatically accepted after 400 years of working for free. No one will tell you no. Now, some of you might say, well, what if I lose my job? Guess what? That's okay too. You won't lose your home. Because the system has taken us into a whole different level of killing us. Killing us. Oh, well, she just got a new home, Upper Northwest. Oh, well, I think we should just give her a hard time and fire her. You're going to have to let your house go. Not under this Recovery Act. You're going to have to donate 20 hours of your time for some community cause or either local government cause to keep your house. The wages don't matter because it's all built around who you are as a person. And that's something that we have been tinkering around with for the longest. This United States of America is built around money. I'm running openly for this election for new wealth creation and wealth protection. That's what recovery does. It doesn't go after our European neighbors' money. They don't have to look at you funny when you walk out of Ward 3 in a $1 million or $2 million condo. It's no big deal. They have theirs and you have yours. They don't have to search you up and find out where you work and call your job and say, oh, she's a rowdy neighbor, please fire her. Or he's a rowdy neighbor, please fire him. All of those injuries has happened to us as a group of people. And we elect people in office every 2 years, every 4 years, to further injure us. Right now, we have to stop. We have to reorganize, come together as a concerned and conscious group of people. We can't vote all for one party. We have to jump the line. I'm running as an independent. I have democratic values. I appreciate anyone who understands that they need help or they're ready to make a difference in this new election. We cannot allow a new era to come in with the statehood rally. Statehood will further injure us in this city. We will be dismantled and moved out. You think gentrification is a problem now. You haven't seen it. Statehood will further raise taxes. It will further cause much more isolation. You won't be able to recognize this place because only the very well prominent and the wealthy with a bank account maybe of about 5 million to 6 million in it, just hanging around will be able to afford to live here. The workers will have to be shipped in from Maryland and Virginia. And maybe that might become another gentrification battleground. DC is at a crisis right now. We all must understand that. No one is immune. Not me, not this brother here, or any of you in this audience. You know, unless you're walking in here with $10 million in your bank account with no bills or any other responsibilities, financial responsibilities to take care of. I'm not trying to give you all straight coffee. I know some of you like cream and sugar in your coffee. But this is at a moment of grave concern. I'm not being a radical person, but what I'm running on is strictly to build new wealth and create wealth, as well as protect wealth. I'm not running on the statehood ticket. I'm running to bring money, housing, jobs, business opportunities, and many other different types of opportunities to the people of the District of Columbia. Because you see, if we started here first, we are a federal territory. We get the reparations recovery vote, such as myself, in Congress first. The rest of the nation will follow suit. That's why it's so important, this election term. No one else will run on this platform because most of them are pretty much bought and paid for by special interest groups. And I hope within your right, intelligent thinking that we don't fall for, as one person said to me today, the okie doke. And it kind of made me upset. I said, sir, if you think I'm out here for my health, I'm not out here. This is my last turn seeking public office. If I don't make it on this turn, we're going to push this initiative act in 2019 for the public to vote on it by themselves. And after that, people, you will be a free-for-all to anybody's agenda.
Talk about that part, the whole ballot measure process, if you can.
The ballot measure process in the district for an independent, you need 3,000 or more signatures to have your name placed on the ballot to be considered a viable candidate. 3,000 plus, so technically 4,500 signatures would somewhere get you into that comfort zone. Don't walk in there with 3,000 signatures. Sometimes the enemy is at work. They'll send someone to sign you on and give you a phony address, and that's wiped off. At 2,999, they would tell you, I'm sorry, you can't make the ballot. So always go at least 10% higher or 20%, sometimes double, higher than what they asked you to go.
So if you can talk to me about, you gave us a thought process around recovery. What has been your process around just articulating that issue? You're articulating it right now, but how have you been making it so that people can learn that subtle difference between reparations and recovery?
That's a good question. Right now we're designing a postcard that we're going to be handing out all over the city to make everyone aware of the difference between reparations and recovery. What one does and what the other one does not do. The Reparations Act, to define it a little bit more deeper, also the reason why the airplane never got off the runway, the Reparation Act goes into criminally prosecuting people and industries or corporations who own slaves. That's why it really never took off the ground. No European person who is of a slave owner's child wants to be outed right now. Okay? So it's not a good feeling for them, you know, knowing their history, knowing their heritage. Of course, prosecutors would have a field day. Their department would be much larger than the Pentagon. I mean, because of the nature of everything, like the Jewish population. They have reparations. They have a country that has claimed them as their lost children, that they've made up called Israel. They formed Israel to be their country. We have not formed any country in Africa to be ours. That is the difference. That's why using the word reparations has pretty much injured, or I should say, watered down our argument for rights of that law, okay? And we have to use the word recovery because it's a universal word. Now, the Recovery Act does go into disclosure, but it does not criminally prosecute anyone. It's more so a financial and relief engine or vehicle. The disclosure one must do in running for political office on any level in any parts of this country would be to disclose if their families own slaves or if they are of a child of a slave owner. Now, that will inform the voter. You wouldn't have to wonder why you voted for this person to get in office and do all of these marvelous things that they didn't do. They just did an about face on you. With proper disclosure, you said, oh, well, you have lineage to slavery. Why should I vote for you? Then they would have to explain and work a little harder for you. We wouldn't be bamboozled. I mean, right now it's at an era where we have to know. Just like if I was running for office and said, hey, I'm running to put tile on the wall of every building. Is that important to you? No. What's important to black Washingtonians and black America is reparations recovery, relief. We need it. We're due 251 years of benefits here in the district. Virginia owes 400 years. Maryland owes 360. Pennsylvania owes 180. So there are a lot of states who participated in slavery, who realizes that they must stand up and correct this measure. Now the Recovery Act is going to get rid of welfare, public housing. That's gone. They already are trying to remove public housing from us. For our injured population, they want us out. Garfield Terrace, Greenleaf, and other public housing locations around the city. They are all in what's called prime development areas. You go to Garfield Terrace, that has the best view of this entire city on that hill. They've got the best view. And every developer wants it. Searson Quarters, they want all that. And the Recovery Act is going to put the brakes on it. Okay, it's going to just end it. We're going to give the units to the occupants and convert the occupants into owners. The taxpayer will save $1 billion a year. In this world of politics, it's all about balancing the budget and making people happy. If you want to balance the budget, give my people who cannot afford to buy a house here their place of residence where they're living, unconditionally. Let them have it. We'll save $1 billion. You know, I've got a lot of ears, a lot of guys, oh yeah, that's not, I said, okay, well, let's do it. You get in office, we'll back you on it. But we have people in office that do not want to back the principles of good measure for us. We are a unique population of people. We own the word identity theft. We own that word. We own the word free labor, unpaid wages. We own that word. My objective purely is to bring wealth. It's to see our people and others who thought that they have to dig deeper in their purses and wallets. No, we don't need your money. We need what's owed to us. And we have to be very pointed and directed of that. Because the Reparations Act and the Recovery Act is in motion now. It's taking baby steps. Some of you may not realize how important it is to remove a Confederate statue. When you have sympathizers of treasonous of this country who think flying the Confederate flag is a patriotic gesture, they become empowered. The word white supremacy kicks in. But it's not white supremacy. It's a traitor of this country. That's what they are. And they know that. We can't give them the uplifting of saying white supremacy. No, you're a white traitor. That's what you are. Own up to it. Now, we fought just as hard as they did. We built the forts. We manufactured the bricks. We manufactured the timber to build this city, the concrete, anything you see. We did it. It's our turn to get paid.
Dr. John Sheeks, y'all. One last question for you, man, in the interest of time, man. And I think that this warrants another show down the line. And I'm going to hold myself to that to make sure we give you your own platform next time to speak more about recovery and just the whole process of getting compensated for the hard work that was carried out by the enslaved here in this country. It sounds like to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that you're being very strategic in the way that you frame this whole initiative. And could you speak very briefly to that point about how people who are political often have to play that game? You know, sometimes how, I think it speaks to a quote that's well known: your principles don't change, your strategy does. You know, if you can just speak to that, how you come to terms with just making those decisions and getting the best possible outcome. I think it's a lesson that young people can learn because we're so principled, you know, we don't want to break for anything.
Well, that's a loaded answer, but I'll try to be brief on it. I might have to say a prayer to my ancestors and ask them to help me answer this question. But to some of you all, the Recovery Act is designed around returning things in a life that we were not afforded to have in this country. The key issue is not making them or a taxpayer dig deep in their pocket to pay. Am I answering this correctly? No one wants to pay for an injury to us because they feel that we are not worthy of receiving the pay for an injury. if I can go back to the Confederate statues. The Confederate statues are coming down because that's a deal that was made through my committee. Bring down the statues, we won't go after your pocket. And of course, some people understand the principles of money. Okay? Our ancestors worked 400 years for free in this country. And you all are still, not you all, we are still receiving the impact of the injury. And a lot of people have gotten used of us being injured over and over. It's a cycle. You have elected officials inside who are a part of special interest groups, who look like us, but are working for certain groups. Like, it could be a faith-based organization. It could be a white supremacy group, shielding itself as a faith-based organization. They have yes men and yes women in there. We are going to have to be a little bit more smarter as far as pushing away from them and voting for someone new who will carry the torch or carry the freight to deliver to us what we need as a group of people. Oh, now, Brother Wills, can I go into my genealogy and describe something?
Sure.
I had my DNA and my genealogy done because writing this law, it states that you have to be 35% African. And I wanted to make sure. I didn't want to write a law that I couldn't use. So I'm thinking in the back of my mind, what if I'm not? But me, everything you think you are before you get your DNA, you're not. Okay? I'm 65% African, and I'm proud to say that I know that. From Central Africa, my family was traded as slaves in 1690, brought to the Virginias. 8 wings of my family came through this country up until 1820. From the Congo, from Botswana, from Angola. Wow. And then in 1868, we then merged with my West African lineage. The U.S. colored troops stormed a southern plantation home, and there was my great-great-grandmother. And of course, when the man could use a gun right back in those days, he had to pick of any woman he wanted. So then that's when the merger of the West African lineage came in. Slavery caused a lot of different identity crises in our community, which many of us don't quite understand. Myself, I like to go into the Chesapeake during the wintertime and go into the water. People think I'm crazy, but my DNA said this is why you're doing that. I'm part Scandinavian, okay? So that gives me the craziness of me wanting to go dip into a frozen pool of water that's about 30 degrees, okay? My other background, Native American. All of these things make us, and our identity was technically robbed from us. And we do little things that we don't know why we do them. And it gets to a level where, no black man goes into the water when it's cold. I did. Or, why are you chanting? My Native American, Seminole, and Apache blood. Some of you have it. Oprah Winfrey had her DNA done. She's 99% African. She is a proud 99% African woman. Our DNA is so important, and I know I'm jumping around on different subject matters, and I hope you all can keep up with me on this. What I'm saying to you, to be eligible for these benefits, when they swab your mouth and take your DNA, it to see if you're 35% African. We had to lower the bar because of all of the interracial relationships and marriages that are going on now, so that the benefits could reach all of us, okay? In Washington, we have 160,000 black Americans in this city, okay, who are qualified to use these benefits once I get in office. I want to end gentrification. I want us to have a healthy life. As one person said, a wealthy family is a healthy family. And that's what my objective is, to make our people wealthy. You all would love the word of wealth. It makes you feel better. You can go to work with a different attitude. You can deal with your supervisors on a whole different level. You know, if they say you're fired, fine. I'll just move on to something. And that's the attitude that our European neighbors have. They don't have the attitude of being fired and falling down. We do. This new law will keep us up. You have 251 years to use it when it's activated. That's a long time. Nobody will hold a gun up to your head. But when you go and get tested, know that your benefits, for some of you at the retirement age, you can cash out. It doesn't pay for apartments, only condos or houses, because we have to end our homeless crisis in this city. And at one time, all of our ancestors were homeless after the Civil War. We all were homeless. The word squatter is a racial word. I have neighbors in Ward 3, where I live, who call me a squatter because they were angry how I purchased my home. It wasn't through a conventional status, it was through a private sale. And they are very upset. I am the only black man on the block. Okay? Now you're speaking of racism. It still exists. I have a neighbor who's angry. Who's angry at the fact that a black man is living. I said, look, miss, I really don't have to be here, but I'm here. The airplane noise, I can't sleep past 6 o'clock, which is good. It keeps me on my toes, you know. But it's a whole different lifestyle over there. And I don't see where it's so flamboyant. I would take Ward 5 any day with any air traffic noise. You know, but of course, the luxury of that location, they want to feel that they are more superior. Well, I am their neighbor. I'm grounded, and I'm running on wealth creation and wealth protection for you or anyone else who would like to embrace that idea. It's nothing wrong with being rich. There's nothing wrong with having money in your pocket. You don't have to, oh, he's greedy for money. It's a certain attitude that you have. It's a certain persona you'll walk on the job with. You'll produce better. You'll be more productive. You'll have that swag about you. And we have to bring that to ourselves. It's so important, people. And I hope I haven't burnt more of my time up.
Now you haven't. That was wonderful. You got a question? Okay. One question. If you don't, yeah.
Thank you. Dr. Cheeks, would you please speak to the pioneering nature of this legislation, how it could be replicated in other parts of the United States and benefit people outside of the District of Columbia?
Once we vote on it, or it's activated here in the district, it takes federal precedence. We are a federal territory, and that's a wonderful thing to be right now. We can shape and form the law for the entire country with the Recovery Act. Once we activate it here, it takes federal precedence, just like with marijuana legalization. When it was activated here, it flowed throughout the entire country. It wasn't a question. And that's why DC is a political battleground as well as an Initiative Act battleground. If in event I don't make it to that congressional seat.
Oh, snap. Y'all, we kind of out of time, man. I wish we could. I wish we could. I mean, Dr. John Cheeks is going to be here, hopefully.
We've got the brother in the back there. He feels left out.
Where? Who?
All the way in the back. His hands up.
Oh, nice.
Can you let him, please? I'll take 2 minutes, 1 minute.
Can you, are you open to incorporating other ideas, economic ideas that are probably just as groundbreaking in terms of the distribution of wealth among?
Yes, I am, sir. I've been approached by a lot of different people. I don't want to name drop, but a very prominent family that lives here in the district who you would probably never believe, but approached me on my signature drive and said, we like the word new wealth creation and wealth protection. I said, yes, that's what I'm about. And of course, the #1 action item that I'm going to execute for you, I'm going to read it to the entire family. Recovery benefits for injured victims of crimes against humanity. That's you people, okay? That's you. You own the word, injured victims of crimes against humanity. We own the word, we own that. So it's time. And yes, I am open to other economic ideas or solutions.
All right, Dr. John Cheeks family, y'all, recovery. Y'all heard it here. He will be back. Him and I, we have to talk offline and set up a date. Before I shut off, next month we're celebrating African liberation. That's the month of Marcus Garvey's birthday, August. We're going to have a Hadi Toure of Horticulture Act. Who has the Horticulture Act on their phone? Nobody? Well, you guys better have it before the next All Eyes on DC show. He's going to talk about that. Then in September, we're going to talk about, and also as I'm talking, family, we got the offering plate here, y'all. You know, you guys can contribute a little bit, you know, at a time, a little bit, as much as you can, whatever you got, you know. No pressure at all, but kind of costs money to keep this thing going, you know. So, you know, appreciate you. Matter of fact, if I could ask young brother Jamal to just pass that around for me. 2, can you cut off the camera? Then we'll wrap the show up, if you don't mind. All right. So in September, we're going to honor the ancestors. We're going to bring a very, very seasoned activist, sister out Rockville, who is protecting an African burial ground. Y'all probably know her, but she's going to come through in September. And we're working on something, hopefully for the CBC, but I ain't going to talk too much about that. But just look forward to that as far as All Eyes on DC is concerned, y'all. I really appreciate y'all being here. I look forward to seeing y'all next month. Look out for